We continue to follow the breaking news that we told you at the top of the hour. State police announcing that they have made an arrest in connection to that double homicide at Devil's Den State Park over the weekend.
And of course, we've been talking about this for several days now, and a lot of people have interest in this because they're wondering how could something like this happen. 28-year-old James McGann was taken into custody this afternoon and is facing 2 counts of capital murder for the alleged stabbing deaths of a Northwest Arkansas couple. That couple, Clinton and Kristen Brink.
Yeah, state police and other officials are addressing the media now, along with the governor. We want to go straight to that and bring you up to speed.
All I've ever had was making a phone call to the Brink family earlier this week. Nothing like that should ever take place. And for a family to have to go through and deal with that level of tragedy is something that no one should ever experience, and something that we never want to take place in our state. And while that was one of the worst moments, certainly one of the moments where we're the most grateful is for the absolute tireless and heroic efforts of our law enforcement and the collaborative effort from every single level, from our city, our county, our state parks, our federal partners who have worked together to bring this person to justice. And I'm so thankful for their courageous and tireless efforts that they've put forth over the course of the last several days. And I cannot thank them enough for the way that they put themselves on the line, not just over this week, but every single day, and the way that they represent our state. I want to be clear that if you commit a violent, senseless act here in our state, our law enforcement will hunt you down and bring you to justice, because that's what the people of Arkansas frankly deserve. That's what they've asked for, and that's what this team has been able to deliver this week, and we're very grateful for their work. I want to finish by saying that I ask all Arkansans to join me in lifting the Brink family and their 2 precious daughters up in prayer, and to continue after these next few days to continue to pray for them, because it's a long road ahead and the grieving process has just begun. And I hope that our entire state will wrap their arms around this family and comfort them in a way that no other place can other than Arkansas. Thank you again for all of the efforts of those who are standing here with me tonight. And with that, I'll turn it over to Colonel Mike Hager, the head of state police.
Thank you, Governor, and good evening. Before I start with the prepared remarks, I have to say it's the greatest of honors to stand here and represent a lot of people that are not standing at this podium. They're not in front of your cameras. We have a building full of criminal investigators from state police, local agencies, federal partners that are unshaven. They look unkempt. They've not slept in days. They've barely taken time to eat. I cannot express the gratitude I have for the men and women that have made this possible. Arkansas State Police Special Agents have arrested James Andrew McGann, 28, of Springdale. He's been charged with 2 counts of capital murder in the deaths of Clinton David Brink and Kristen Amanda Brink. Clinton and Kristen were killed on Saturday, July 26, 2025, at Devil's Den State Park. The suspect was taken into custody this evening at 4:57 p.m. at a business in the Springdale area. I'm extremely grateful for the long hours and dedication that our agents put forward in bringing justice to this family. The collaboration between state police and other local law enforcement agencies, our federal partners, has been second to none. I also want to thank our media partners for helping us distribute important information during these past few days. Because of their hard work and investigative skill, we were able to take a monster off the streets and bring relief to Clinton and Kristen's precious girls. And to the rest of citizens of Arkansas. I'm going to turn it over now to Secretary Shea Lewis, Secretary of Parks.
Good evening. My name is Shay Lewis, Secretary of the Arkansas Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism, and Director of Arkansas State Parks. Our hearts are with the Brink family tonight, and as they navigate this unimaginable tragedy. We're deeply grateful, and on behalf of the Arkansas Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism, would like to thank the work and the men and women of the Arkansas State Police for their swift and tireless work to protect Arkansans and pursue justice for the victims and their loved ones. I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to the many partners who supported Arkansas State Parks during this time, especially the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission, the local law enforcement agencies, all that provided additional law enforcement coverage within our state park system. I'm especially thankful for the dedicated response of our Arkansas State Park staff, including our park rangers and many others who worked with professionalism, compassion, urgency in the face of this very difficult situation. As always, the safety of our guests and staff will continue to be a top priority for Arkansas State Parks. At this time, I'll turn it back over to Governor Sanders for any questions that may be available tonight.
Thank you. We'll take a couple questions if you guys have them.
Before we ask you about the details of this person arrested and accused of this, do you know when this news was delivered to the victim's family members?
Yeah, I'm going to allow and ask some of the law enforcement who have been leading these efforts to step up and answer some of those specific questions.
So the question was, were they notified or when?
They were notified. This had to be released.
Yes, they were notified just after we made the arrest. They were actually one of the first people that we went to notify. And as you can imagine, it opened up a whole different set of emotions for the Brink family. I'm sure that it was with a sense of relief, but also with a whole new emotion that they're going to have to deal with.
And of course, the last part of that is to talk about the person arrested, but we can't say.
So while an arrest has been made, we are refraining from releasing much of the information that led to that arrest. We still have a lot of work to do in terms of, securing a conviction, because that's our next big focus right now. But we will release some details as they become available that we think are pertinent. The community deserves to know what happened and what led to that arrest, and we'll be happy to share that when the time is right.
Can you confirm, we've seen video of an arrest made at this beauty shop in Springdale. Can we confirm that that's where he was taken into custody today?
Yes.
So that was him?
Yes.
Do we have any sense of a motive, or do we feel this was random at this time?
We're not going to talk about his motive right now. We're still exploring and determining exactly what that motive was. So it'd be a little premature for us to speak on that tonight.
Anything on this gentleman's background here locally? We're getting word he might have been a youth teacher in the area. Is there anything of that sort that you can confirm for us tonight? So
what I'll say is he just recently moved here and had gotten a job to work at a local school here.
You know where he moved from?
I believe it was Oklahoma.
From Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Are you able to share where he was arrested specifically?
It was the barber shop that this gentleman just mentioned.
Did the public play a role in this arrest, or I'm just wondering how this happened? Do you have investigators that word out there? How did we get to here?
So I will say that the public was instrumental. When we pushed out the initial information, we were asking for any video. A lot of the video footage that we received was instrumental in helping us identify this particular subject.
A lot of that was looking for a description of a vehicle. We know a description of a vehicle was seized, it's being processed as evidence. The description seems to match up with what you recovered.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Can you talk about the calls, the tips? State police had to be flooded with calls and how difficult it is to sort through those and vet through those and really get to the core of this investigation.
The tips were, I will say, overwhelming. Once we set up a tip line, we were able to manage those quite well. But when we have to have that public assistance, and when we opened up that tip line, we were able to see what the public was interested in helping us, and it was overwhelming. We were getting them from Washington State, we were getting them from Illinois. They were coming in across the country, so they were instrumental.
When we think about what's going to happen next at Devil's Den, is there any sort of worry or concern that we might see a repeat, or we might see a decrease in the amount of people wanting to go to state parks at this point?
Do you want to answer that?
I don't know if we have a true indication of what the impact will be. I know it has greatly impacted this family with their loss, and as we kind of look forward to kind of navigate through this process and look at reopening trails and reopening other parts of the park, we're going to just kind of take our time in that. Right now they're going to remain closed. I want to make sure that the Brink family has time to grieve, go through this process, time for our staff to assess the situation, and then we'll reopen it at the appropriate time.
Take maybe one or two last questions.
We've asked for information, the overall assessment, can that include the possible changes, maybe more? So there are these cameras, it said that we need those, but things that we've been asked about.
Sure. Even over the last few years, we are constantly in a process evaluating needs at our parks for safety and security, looking at technology as a tool, making sure our staff, our park rangers, our law enforcement officers are equipped with the tools and the training to be responsive to emergencies.
Let's just do the last one here.
There's been, a 5-day ordeal, and information has been pretty scarce. Can you talk to us a little bit about kind of the strategy behind that and why information was kind of hard to, or why you didn't want to share as part of the investigation?
Sometimes when we share information, it actually creates a lot of running down trails that we don't want to go down. It actually hinders the investigation. As some of y'all are likely aware, there was a podcast that really, what we feel hurt the investigation. The interviews that were done were spreading information that we were using to help locate, because the last thing we wanted to do was for him to be alerted that we were onto him, so to speak. And so that we try to give information that's going to help us identify this person, but we don't want to give anything that we don't want them to go underground. We don't want them to go into hiding. And so that's why we were very deliberate with the information and really on the timing that it was delivered. So that was kind of the strategy.
I'll just close out again by saying a big thank you to the men and women of our law enforcement, again, across every level, individuals who have stepped up and offered tips and information to our state parks team and their staff for everybody's collaborative effort over the course of the last several days. And again, we ask that every Arkansan remember this family and lift them up in prayer and offer condolences and comfort to them in any way that you can. So thank y'all again, and again, appreciate our law enforcement and prayers for all of Arkansas. Thank y'all.
You've been watching a news conference about this breaking news story that has captivated not only the entire state of Arkansas, but a big chunk of the nation. State police, along with the governor, announcing that 28-year-old James Andrew McCann of Springdale was arrested earlier today, right around 4:57 p.m. at a salon business in Springdale, which is literally about a half hour away from Devil's Den State Park. There's a picture of him, but he is now in custody and facing 2 counts of capital murder. The governor saying, if you did not catch, that she was praising law enforcement and how they worked together to get justice for the Brink family, and that she could not thank them enough. But she also had a very strong message for other criminals out there, that if you commit violent, senseless acts of crime in the state of Arkansas, you will be hunted down. And then she finished it off, Donna, by saying that the entire state should unite in lifting the Brink family, to pray for them, because the grieving process for them and others is just starting, and that the entire state should wrap their arms around the Brink family.
And I think it's really important to focus on that family. We're really talking specifically about Clinton, 43, and Kristen Brink, 41. Husband and wife out on a trail at the state park with their 2 children, their 2 daughters, 7 and 9 years old. And this happened to them. And certainly, you know, you could listen to national news and even hear them talking about it. I think, though, many of us, what we've been wanting to hear, or what we will look forward to someday finding out, is the motive. Why did this happen? Tonight, they felt like they didn't want to go there. They didn't want to answer that question, and we certainly do understand and respect that. But, you know, you have to ask yourself, why? There are also other questions. You know, what has he been doing over the last few days? I thought it was interesting when they were talking about a podcast and how police are always so careful about giving out information. Yeah. And we are careful about information that we share with you. But, you know, one of the things that they feared was this suspect, McGann, getting information that could force him to go underground, and that's never good. But luckily, that did not happen. As you just mentioned, he was arrested at a salon. Why was he in a salon? Getting his hair cut, changing his identity? We don't know. There are so many unanswered questions tonight. But we do have Mike Rogers, who's at police headquarters in Little Rock. And Mike, I know you've been listening in on this as well. What are your takeaways in terms of what you heard?
Well, yeah, Kevin and Donna, as you guys mentioned, the governor is saying that one of the worst things that she has had to do was call the Brink family and express those condolences for the deaths of Clinton and Kristen Brink. Now, she praised those partnerships, as you mentioned, with state parks and the state agencies to bring 28-year-old James Andrew McGann to justice, thanking them for their courageousness and their efforts in this entire investigation. Now, she said that those who commit this violence and these senseless acts will be brought to justice in the state of Arkansas. And she's now asking for all Arkansans to, as you mentioned, lift up the Brink family in this time of grieving. State Police Colonel Mike Hager also praised those partnerships with law enforcement in their additions to this investigation. 28-year-old James Andrew McGann, as we mentioned, charged with 2 counts of capital murder. And as they mentioned in the press conference, now authorities are going to be looking for a motive from McGann, hopefully something that can be found through their interrogation and bring justice to this family. Kevin and Donna.
Rogers live this evening in front of State Police headquarters. I thought one of the most powerful moments in that news conference was when Arkansas State Police Colonel Mike Hager addressed the media and began by praising the exhaustive efforts of his agents as well as other law enforcement, saying, and I'm quoting here, "Because of their hard work and investigative skills, we were able to take a monster off the streets and bring relief to those 2 precious girls." And at that moment, he got emotional.
He choked
There was
up.
a long pause, and then he finished saying, "and the rest of our citizens." Obviously, deeply emotional and touched, because 2 young, precious girls, as he referred to them, are now without a mom and dad. And
there are still some unanswered questions in terms of how those girls ended up not being victims.
Yeah, they were unharmed.
Exactly. Yeah. And how they escaped. Did they escape? Did the killer just not touch them? I mean, did they witness it with their own eyes? There's still a lot of unanswered questions with that too. But as we get ready to wrap this up, I think we also should point out, because they praised the public. They said they were overwhelmed with the number of people who were calling in and trying to give updates and tips on finding this person.
And the videos that were submitted were instrumental.
And the videos that were, exactly. So, you know, a pat on the back to Arkansans. And as they were saying, I mean, they were getting tips from Washington State
all over the place,
and Chicago, Illinois, all over. But you know, sometimes we collectively can come together and help police solve crimes, and that to me is just phenomenal.
28-year-old James Andrew McGann in custody behind bars, now facing 2 counts of capital murder for the murder of Clinton David Brink and Kristen Brink. We'll continue to follow this, and we'll have much more for you online and, of course, on air.